Hello everyone and welcome to week 2 of Who Reviews the Reviewers. I'm Captain Logan, and here are my co-hosts, the man whose powers reside solely in his hat. It's Vince!
Hello everyone!
And we have the real Manos, the Fresh Maker.
Hello!
And the definitive brown coat Eric.
Hi.
And a little known fact, his cousin is Thing from the Addams Family. It's the Review Spot.
Hello!
Let's get right into it. We unfortunately had to vote off Watch This Review last week. Best of luck to him and his channel, and everybody be sure to check him out and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, to remind you what the winner of the challenge, of the whole thing at the end is going to be getting: a $50 gift card to Amazon.com, a chance to join a review panel with all of us judges, and a spot on our podcast. Now, the remaining reviewers were challenged this week to review something they hate, but to review it objectively, starting with something they like. We're going to begin with Mr. Fusion's review of the Superman the movie ending.
In order to put things right, Superman flies around the Earth so fast that he reverses its rotation, and this causes the Earth to travel back in time and allows Superman to save Lois. I'm sorry, but this just makes no sense! None! Okay, first let me say that I know that this plot device was originally supposed to be used in Superman 2, and in fact is used in the Richard Donner cut version. But while its use in that movie does eliminate one problem I'm going to talk about, it's still ludicrous simply in theory.
Vince, would you start us off?
Now, Mr. Fusion, I want to say that I think organization is more important to this guy than simply satisfying the requirement of this particular video. He didn't start with what he really liked about it. He gave a historical background to the film, and then his personal background with the film, whether he'd seen it or not, what he likes more, what he likes less, things like that. Then he moved into his positive statements. Then he moved into his negative statement. Now, here's an observation, and it's not criticism by any means, but I'd like to note that there's less humor in this than there were in his other videos. And I think he made a judgment call of importance. We know he's witty, we know he's clever, and now he really wants us to see how his analytical skills can be used to win this type of thing. He's really trying to jump in there and show us what he can review.
All right, I thought it was actually a really interesting choice because it's obviously the Superman the movie everyone loves. He didn't just choose a whole film, he chose a specific part, which actually, to be honest, my personal opinion on the film is, I do have a problem with that ending. And it's like the one little kind of glitch in an otherwise perfect piece of art. I think it's a really challenging review where he finds something really wrong with something that most people, for the most part, find a great piece. Yeah, so you're right. He did use a lot less humor in this, but I enjoyed it a lot.
I too was really surprised by the choice, and at first I was like, really? Like, you're going to review like a part of a movie? And it worked really well because of course, he couldn't have just done Superman the movie because he expressed very much that he didn't hate the movie. So, that wouldn't have gone with what the challenge was. And I thought it turned out to be a really excellent choice. He had some of the best organization this week, I thought. I really liked how he went point by point, not just these are the things I didn't like about it, but he tried really hard to figure out what the logic was behind having the world turn backwards and how the time travel worked. So he was like, well, it doesn't make any sense to me, but what might they have been thinking? Point this week was to be objective, and that was a really objective thing to do. He really hit on why it was a problem for the storytelling. He made really good points like, well, it was the easy way out. That I also have a bunch of respect for a guy who reviews Power Rangers regularly, who can be this articulate and organized, and he's really smart, and he actually knows what makes for a good story. He just happens to enjoy Power Rangers, so like he reviews that kind of thing, and made me really question my own score when I did my Superhero Rewind on Superman the movie, because of course I gave it a 4, and I spent a good long time complaining about this ending, and it always bothered me, and I always wondered if I should have given it that score, and now I worry about it even more. But
I thought the best part of it was where he references other kinds of time travel, and he tries to make it make sense, and then he says, well, this is the way that it would make the most sense, but that's clearly not what happens. And then he brought up something that I'd never even realized, which was that when he spins the Earth backwards, everything's different, even though he didn't really do anything different. Like, the missile still clearly fell, but he has great editing skills. I was kind of, at first I was like, it kind of seems like he's reversing it and he's doing something bad about something he likes. I was like, well, he's just doing the ending, and that's really kind of an interesting thing to do.
And may I also mention really fast that I appreciated also the fact that he did something so clearly different from the last video, and did a very much a review, and picked up on what we were talking about last time. So
Mr. Fusion did a really good job of keeping it as an unbiased opinion of what he was reviewing. He didn't say it's outright stupid or it just doesn't make sense the way it was done. He also pointed out the fact that, if he was to rotate the Earth, wouldn't it simply just mean that the sun and everything was setting, differently than what it would, and he could probably just walk backwards and change his clock and probably get the same effect. I just found it was really clean, and he hit all the good points at dissecting something may seem like it was wrong. For a perfect movie, yes, the ending was a little off, and I think he did a great job of describing what he didn't like about it, but still keeping it unbiased.
Next, we're going to go on to Mr. Corellian's review of The Last Airbender.
So, this movie has element-wielding kung fu masters, which should be an awesome combination for some sick fight scenes, and about half the time it delivers. When the bending is done right and the pacing is fast enough, it can look really, really cool. Especially the water bending. It has these snakes of water and ice shards and dribbling water orbs. And really all around the CGI I thought was great. These, high isolated mountain peaks and the giant frozen ice and snow palace. I thought they all looked great. They added a real nice mood to the film.
The thing I'd like to say about Mr. Corellian is he's good at improving a review. He made good points about the movie. Now, what I really have a problem with this particular review, it seemed a little scatterbrained. There are parts that were better than others. Well, maybe it's not fair to call it scatterbrained, because after all, it is unscripted. His thoughts managed to come together very well, but I felt like he was just giving a reaction to the movie as opposed to really getting down to the meat and potatoes, the guts of what this film is. Part of the problem with a lot of things, with a lot of movies that are just so bad that you have to come up with something to say about this in 7 minutes, the problem is that you have so much that you want to say. Your thoughts get jumbled and you can't come up with what you need to say to make this review a whole. And I felt like he was addressing aspects of the movie and just going point, and wasn't really thinking about them as deeply as I know he can. I thought it was a strong review, but I think he could have done better. And I think maybe he's stronger with a particular product in his hands. I think it was a step down from his last video, but I still think he did well.
I think it was kind of rather equal to his last one myself. I enjoyed the fact that he really dissected the film, point by point, on what really didn't work for the film. And I think when you look at it in retrospect now, that Shyamalan was just the worst possible choice for it. And the discussion of the villains, I think, got me rather interested. To the point where I even wanted to see those scenes. I don't know. I liked it a lot, actually.
One thing that I want to really keep in mind is the fact that the folks in this contest aren't just doing reviews, but they're also playing a game. They're also in a contest, and I got to give the guy points for taking a major risk in doing something he doesn't usually do. And he even says at the beginning of his video that he has never reviewed a movie before. And after getting our top pick last week and then taking that kind of a risk, I got to give him props for that. And lo and behold, he did it quite well. This particular challenge is one where he could have reviewed something that he usually does pretty easily, and instead he went for a movie. What was interesting is that I think that in a lot of ways he reviewed it like he reviews action figures. It was extremely detailed, and I would agree with Vince that it was a little bit all over the place. I think it could have been a little bit more organized, but he did start with the things that he liked about it. Had a lot more good things to say about it than I had heard anybody talking about with this film, which was interesting. And it didn't sound like he was just making stuff up either. I mean, he really, he was like, these effects are amazing. It looks like a very epic film. With the things they got right, how could they have gotten so much else wrong? I didn't actually see the movie because it sounded really bad, so I didn't want to go. And I don't know the cartoon show, and I don't know the series, so I didn't have any real investment in it. I appreciate the fact that he picked something that he knew a lot about. He obviously knew the series, and he knew what he was talking about in comparing the two things. And it wasn't just comparison. He had a lot to say about storytelling and why the storytelling didn't work, and why most importantly the drama was not believable. And I did feel like he was a little bit redundant in a few places, which I won't begrudge him too much, just because it was his first attempt at this kind of review.
Oh, I wanted to say that he is thoroughly entertaining in this review. I mean, I'm not saying he really got out all the bells and whistles. I'm saying this guy is just an engaging personality, and he did have a lot of things that were interesting to say.
I enjoyed this a lot, actually, because I was someone who was a fan of the TV series, and when the movie came out and it bombed, and I watched a lot of reviews, and this is one of the most kind of in-depth ones I've seen. A lot of people just complained and said, like, oh man, this is terrible. I thought he did a really, really good job of saying, there's still good things here. It's a terrible movie, but there's still, good things and good moments, and even if it's, as small as saying, these two characters out of the entire cast had an interesting dynamic. Nothing else, none of the other characters were good, but these two, he did a really, really good job of being objective with this movie, which many are saying is worse than Battlefield Earth, so props on that one.
I don't know if I actually enjoyed his video this week as much as I did the video he shot last week. Maybe the problem is I don't follow the source material, much like Captain Logan. I've never seen the cartoon. I've never watched the movie. He seemed to follow good points in the movie. I mean, like everyone's mentioned, he was good to point out the things that worked well in the movie as well as the things that, of course, didn't work well. But I don't know. I don't know if maybe it was just that I didn't follow the source material, but I found about 2/3 of the way into the review, I just was kind of losing interest. And I don't know if it's necessarily the fact that maybe we were just looking at his face through the whole 7 minutes or so of the video.
Would you have found it more engaging if he'd had clips?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't know by this point if I'm already starting to get spoiled by the idea of a clip or a slideshow video. Like, actually, this is a very good comparison to, like, Shades at Night, who we will review later on. Had it been maybe where he had used stills from the movie as he was talking, I think maybe my interest in the review would have been more than what it was.
Next, we're going to go to Tori GNR1 and his review on Sonic Unleashed.
The bulk of the game is split between playing as regular Sonic and Werehog Sonic. The daytime levels of Sonic Unleashed are definitely the highlight of the game. The daytime stages switch between the behind-the-back camera featured in 3D Sonic titles and a 2D perspective similar to the classic Genesis Sonic games. Sonic Team managed to make these transitions feel seamless, and there's never a point where the daytime levels slow down. You are constantly doing something at Sonic speeds, and it is some of the best gameplay true to its roots a Sonic game has had in years. There are a few places in the daytime stages that suffer from poor level design and technical glitches, but they aren't frequent enough to ruin the experience.
And we go back to Vince.
Tori GNR1 did something that he didn't do last time, which is, not to be mean, but he made this an actual review, and it was a good review. What I really like about this review is that he tells me exactly what I want to know about a game. He tells me exactly what I want to know before I play it. I mean, how many of us have jumped into playing a video game and said, the gameplay is horrible, this stuff doesn't work together, I wish I would have known this? Well, if you watch this review, you know exactly what you need to know before you walk into this Sonic game. I really appreciated that. Now, that being said, I feel like he started a little negative on it. I feel like he was giving us his opinion before he actually started giving us the details on his opinion. And it's just the way he delivered the information. I felt like he was trying to impress, like, this sucks, but I'm going to go ahead and make a positive couple statements about this game. That took me out of it based on the contest, not necessarily based on the review. For the review, I think it's fine. He rushed through his ending. I mean, he said he gives it this grade, and thank you for watching, goodbye. His send-off should be a little warm, like, thank you guys, I appreciate it, have a good day. He seemed like he really wanted to get to the end, and he had plenty of time in his video. He could have taken a little bit of padding time for...
He's gonna say that next video, you know that, right?
Yeah, next video he's gonna go, and Vince, I sure hope you enjoyed watching this video.
Oh,
How about some
that's...
music to play us out? Do 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 do.
Yeah, Vince, I'm sorry, I gotta stop you for a minute, because that is a really interesting thing you just said. So really, like, your problem is that he rates at the end and then he's done. Like, I pretty much do that with Rewind.
No, I don't mean that he needs to have a whole bunch of stuff at the end. I mean, he speaks really fast. It's as if, here's my rating, goodbye. And I'm not saying that he needs to have a whole lot of filler at the end. I mean, I think that he should, let his audience have the time to appreciate what he had to say, not necessarily take the time to appreciate his viewers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I got you.
All right, I guess I agree with the abrupt ending, but I don't know if well, for me, I don't know if I put that in a criticism or just a simple nitpick about it. I don't know.
I didn't even notice it.